Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year to all of you. This is about a trustless system. What does it mean? It's a very alien word for us to use a trustless system or even use words like trustless because we have spent all our lives in a trust relationship, whether it be with us, our faith, or in business that we do. We know that the banks and, of course, the governments that service only a few individuals that control the governments on their own behalf for their own benefit have totally and utterly disabled people and violated every trust you can violate. Because of this, a new system has been set up, which all of you that know about Bitcoin and blockchain are more than familiar with. This is about me educating you the power that is behind and at the forefront of a trustless system. As you know, if somebody wants to send some money to me, or I wish to send some money to other people, I have to go through a middleman. And that middleman, unfortunately, got the human population or the men and women of this world to believe that they have trust and therefore you can trust them on the transaction. In reality, those transactions go missing. The extraordinary amounts that one has to pay in order to make that transaction viable is economically crippling. Hence, most of the world's population have to spend anything up to 10-15% of what they're sending in terms of fees. So the position of trust with the banks and the governments have been violated again and again, so far that they have done this on numerous occasions tells us that they have broken trust. The new system that is in place is that it's a trustless system. What that means is it's just another way of saying that we don't have a need for a middleman, no need for a middleman. The middleman has been sacked. Now, we know that the banks are only clearinghouses. They're there to do banking on demand for the benefit of us. But of course, that's so far from what the truth is that the average man and woman have been so disgusted by their conduct, they're no longer interested in what the banks have to say. In fact, they're leaving them by the drones. I should say by the millions every day. The banks are a hindrance to men and women all over the world. Now, the peer-to-peer system that we are addressing is that the middleman, as it were, is nothing more than an IT system allows that transaction to take place. In other words, you don't need trust in a computer program that operates like a calculator. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4. Any discrepancies on the point 00, as it were, will always show up. In other words, the death of the middleman, replaced by nothing more than something as sophisticated as a calculator. That's all you do need in order to replace the world's banking infrastructure, which have disabled, and sorry to say it again, that has disabled mankind for nearly 150 years. So the peer-to-peer allows us to conduct our own affairs without the need of any governments, any banks, or let alone any private individuals that is masquerading under the pretense of trust. Now, I want to be able to read this out to you. Sorry about my throat, ladies and gentlemen. How trustless systems work. Contrary to popular belief, trustless systems do not completely eliminate trust. The system simply distributes trust in an economy that incentivizes certain behavior, i.e., telling the truth and giving public accountability. What this means is that there is no single authority, like a single bank or Bank of England or the Federal Reserve Bank or a government or a home office or any one of these masqueraders, authority to trust fully, but several people. Trust is minimized instead of getting eliminated. What does that mean, minimized? Well, if you don't need them, they have no use. If you can replace it with a calculator, then you can replace it with a calculator. It really is quite as simple as that. For example, currently most blockchain utilizes proof of work algorithms. Sensors to add blocks to a blockchain, which is simply to verify transactions. In other words, all we require is the verification of a transaction to be in a public domain so everybody can see that we're not quadrupling the work or trying to sell something that doesn't exist or trying to sell the same item many times over, like the land registry does, with the land and the houses and banks and so on and so forth, because the private ledgers allows them to create any amount of money that they want and then securitize that in the public domain, making you liable and them the beneficiary of a criminal activity. The proof of work concept requires miners to solve complex mathematical problems, with the first miner to solve the problems getting rewarded. The rewards are the incentives for good behavior while operating in a trustless system. They, of course, are talking about miners. I'm not a miner, nor do I have an intention to create any mining rigs. But what I would like is not being able to have a middleman, because the middleman is synonymous with monopolizing, with theft, with ledgers disappearing, with all manner of criminal activities. I use the word criminal activities. Activity, of course, is just another word for acting, but let's call it conduct, criminal conduct. So, as you can see, once you release the middleman and expose them for what they are, the world's potential wealth is going to explode, and it in fact is exploding on an individual basis. The way that the system is rigged up, I beg your pardon, is that essentially you don't even need any middleman, including the judiciary, including the police, including the armies and navies, which we now know are all one group throughout the world, whether it be World War I, World War II, they're all one group conspiring against hurting mankind to keep them in a perpetual state of servitude. You can find all that information on my website. This Sunday, Hugh and Lance will be holding a course on tokenization and, of course, NFTs. The use of smart contracts, which is just another way of saying the contracts that I have between you and me and vice versa, requires no middleman and the contracts are penned and forged by us. No need for a guild operation where they own the copyrights to that paperwork. In other words, they own our business if we use them as a third party, interloper, as it were. Okay, so for this new year, ladies and gentlemen, what a century this is going to be. It's going to be a century of incredible levels of prosperity. And the people that know about these things early on, what they call the pioneers as well as the early adopters, will essentially own their own lives, their own sweat equity, their own commercial energy, their own intellectual property. It's not, you can't get any better than that. Yeah, for the first time in history, we will have no need for armies. We will have no need for navies. Because when you go on my website, you realize whether it's Russia, whether that's India, whether that's America, whether it's the Americas or South America, or whether it's Australia, they're all one group of people that have started the war to give the people on the planet the misconception that they are real enemies at the gates, but in reality, it's a warfare conducted for their benefit to keep mankind in a perpetual state of fear that any day their banks are going to be taken over by China or invaded by China or any other countries. The phantoms that they perpetrated, the phantoms that were put into human minds, are just going to simply vanish on the back of this blockchain, on the DeFi system, and of course, a trustless network. The trust, ladies and gentlemen, should be between me and you, not a third middleman who has never done anything to gain our trust. Okay, I think you guys understand. So this Sunday, Hugh and Lance will be holding a course on how to take full advantage of that. And not only that, they're going to be teaching us over a consecutive number of times how to tokenize. That means how to mint your own coins. Yeah, because if you think about it, when you have a company, you can issue shares. Well, without the middleman, you can issue your own shares. It's just that this share is going to be tokenization. Okay? They are instruments of money, and they are instruments of commerce, and they are instruments for the benefit of mankind. You don't need Companies House permission to tokenize your own intellectual property or your own company. You can go to the entire world. The world will become your investor. I think I've got my meaning across. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year and welcome to this beautiful world. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.